high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Catholic. I'm Jen Morrow, and back with me is Mike Walsh.
Yeah, this time for real.
For real?
Yeah, I don't have Mike Bress in my seat.
If anybody missed last week's episode, it was me and Mike Bress, and then Walsh audio bombed it by running into the vault really quick, like a wild man.
I have not been on the podcast before, but this is the first time I hadn't been on the podcast and actually present when it was going on.
Right.
I was like, yeah, but I should force my way in. So I did. But then I had to go do work. But no, that was a very good episode. Mark Zamara is always a fun guy to have on. So that was very pleasant.
We did talk some South Jersey Catholic school sports.
Yeah, it was good. And he's a good character too. Good guy.
Yeah, he's good. I
like him a lot. I'm glad we have him as the Star Herald's sports beat reporter.
We're very
and
blessed.
Photographer.
And his photos are good.
His photos are outstanding.
I was going to say, I think everybody who's listening knows that Walsh also takes photos. Mm-hmm. There was a little professional photography discussions happening, I think, when Mark was here.
Yeah, I asked for some. I hadn't shot baseball games in a long, long time, and I was curious what his technique was for shooting them as far as getting close enough and in the dugout so you didn't ruffle the feathers of any coaches or anything like that. And he gave him some good ideas. So I was very happy about that.
Good.
I'm more comfortable on the sidelines of a football game than I am on a baseball game. Because there you actually have to dodge football players so you're not run over.
Oh, right.
That's a little more my speed than shooting through fences. But no, it was a great conversation you had with him, and Bress was great, and it was lovely. So, yeah, it's good. And the last edition of the Catholic Star Herald was great as well. We were featuring our Jubilarians, which was always nice to see. I think that crew, they were all retired in that batch.
Yes.
Yeah,
they were.
That was the first one we've had that's all retired priests. And, the retired guys, a lot of them are still very active and you see them around and stuff like that. But we don't get to hear from them that much anymore. So it's great to sort of feature them a little bit. Yeah. And it was nice as well. And actually, it was a good edition in general. You had a great one on the inclusion mass. That was down in Ocean City, was it?
Yep, it was in Ocean City. So the recent issue of the Catholic Star Herald, May 10th, has a whole 12-page section for Jubilarians, which there were 9 of, as Mike was talking about. So learn more about some of our diocesan priests, and then 36 pages total. So there's a lot of local news packed in there, including the inclusion mass, which was beautiful. Mm-hmm. It was for those with autism and intellectual challenges. So it was a beautiful mass. Tons of photos from that. Yeah. And just a lot of, we have a really great story about a 99-year-old World War II veteran who has joined the Catholic War Veterans Post. Yeah. And I love hearing from our World War II veterans since there's not many left, unfortunately, as time moves on. So that's a good one.
Yeah, that is a great one. And of course, the next 2 editions are going to be fantastic because they're going to be heavily laden with new transitional deacons and a new priest. So we're very excited about how the next 2, and of course, we're going to do live streams of those as well. So when this comes out, I think we'll have already done the diaconate live stream, but we'll have the priest live stream coming up.
Yep, we have that. I think is on May 18th.
Yes,
and
May 18th.
That is here at the Camden's Cathedral
at 10:30 in the morning. So that'll be fun. And then I don't mind coming to work at 10:30 on a Saturday morning. That's no big deal. Actually, I'll be here at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And then Father Carlo's first mass is down in Ocean City. I think. The next day. So that'll be fun too. And I'll be down there on my birthday. So feel free, if you see me down there live streaming it, feel free to come up and say, "Happy birthday, Mike." I accept all birthday wishes, especially when I'm working.
Okay, so that will be May 19th.
May 19th.
In Ocean City?
In Ocean City, New Jersey. Feel free to come up and say happy birthday to Mike Walsh.
Yes, please come just to say happy birthday to Mike Walsh. And also congratulate
sure.
the new father.
Father as well, Father Cruz as well. But come on now. It's all about me. But no, there's a lot of really great things coming up in the diocese, and we're very, very excited about it. We always love when we get to do ordinations. They're the best.
My favorite time of year.
Ditto.
What?
Ditto.
Oh, I thought you said do tell, and I was like, but you've been there, so.
Sorry.
Yes, I would say ordination season, and then now after that we have high school graduations and middle school graduations, so back-to-back full activity, and then we get just like a week of breathing time and then just jump into summer fun.
Yeah, summer fun. Seriously, if things are going on in your areas, particularly if you're in the South Jersey area, summer-related, spiritual activities, fun activities, community activities of a Catholic nature in our parishes or schools or ministries, by all means, let us know. We'd like to come down and check that stuff out, particularly if it's down in the shore parishes. We love an excuse to go to the shore during the summertime. That is, I will happily walk around the beach in my Oxford.
Yes, every time Mike Walsh goes on an assignment or work, I call it an assignment, but
you've assigned me
journalism journalism terms. He always takes the selfie picture, which is like your nice black shoes in the sand.
That's right.
Actually, now that I think about it, you should do a calendar
of my shoes in the
just
sand.
Of your shoes in the sand. What do you think about that?
It's a thought I had never considered, and I'm going to quickly remove from my brain now. But definitely
Your
a thought.
mom would like it. Your mom would buy it.
I would like to believe my mom likes my face more than my shoes, but that's all right.
Next time you see her, ask her.
I'll double check.
And make sure she listens to this podcast.
I have ridiculously large feet, so it would take up. It'd be a big calendar. So, at any rate, that is definitely an idea. We'll see if we can sell that and make some money for the Catholic Star Herald.
Yeah, we'll do that.
So we have a really interesting podcast today, one that we were very much looking forward to, and one that is 100% the brainchild of John Kalitz. The thing that we're going to be talking about today, our colleague, he's been on the podcast, I think only one time, when we had Johnny Gaudreau on, the NHL hockey player, because he was my NHL expert. But John is always working behind the scenes and always coming up with great ideas. And he literally came up with this new video series that we're putting out on Pentecost that was 100% soup to nuts his idea, to the point of writing the scripts, picking the talent, deciding on the locations. Everything about this was him. So I want to make sure we give him all the credit, honestly, all the credit, genuinely. This does not mean being funny. He really did it, but we could not get him on the podcast to talk about it because I wouldn't call him shy and retiring, but he does like to put the focus on others, as a good PR person should. It's never about them. It's always about other people. But I want to make sure that John gets all the credit for this project we're working on, even though the two hosts are definitely going to get all the love because they always get all the love. But it's a great project. So why don't we bring in our guests and talk to them about what the project is?
Okay. So our guests with us today are very familiar faces around the Diocese of Camden. We have Donna Ottaviano-Britt, head of the Office of Discipleship and Leadership for the Diocese of Camden.
Hi, Jen. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Donna.
And we...
That was as close as I got to being nice to Donna.
Yeah, that was really good. That was good.
That's for sure.
That's good. And also we have with us Father Carlo Santa Teresa from St. Joseph Catholic Church in Summers Point.
Hi, Jen. Mike.
Good to see you again.
With you.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
And we are recording from the vault, which is lovely because you came up from the shore area to join us. No small trip. So
yeah, and this is my first time in the vault, so it's great to be here.
That's right.
Oh, we get to be here with a newbie.
Yeah.
Yes. It's always a favorite for me. But you know what? He seemed to walk. He walked in with no trepidation, and I really appreciate that. Not a lot of people would be willing to walk into a bank vault and have the door closed behind them and not look a little unnerved.
I think that's true, actually. My first time in here, I'm like, are you sure that door can't lock? Because I don't think anyone's going to hear us if we're stuck in here.
Yeah.
I've never gotten stuck in here once.
I got stuck in a freezer once. Actually, the first time I walked in here, it gave me flashbacks to when I got stuck in a freezer when I was I wish everybody could see the looks on everybody's face at this table. I was like 15. It was my first job. I was, waiting tables or whatever. So I walked into one of those walk-in freezers. It shuts behind you. There's no door handle inside. Right. So, in case you didn't know that. As a 15-year-old, I didn't know that.
I don't know what to say right now. They wouldn't come off as incredibly insulting.
For those who don't know, in case you ever get stuck, you just kick the bottom right. Now you can get out of the freezer.
Oh, really?
Is that how that door opens?
There's a little
good
thing
to know.
right there?
No, you have to kick it.
Things I hope I don't have to use.
Right.
Thank you.
But it's a very significant life hack. Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You know, the things that come up on this podcast, you'd think after 385 of these, we'd run out of things to talk about or, till new soil. Nope,
it's
never
the
once.
Very first thing I ever thought of when I walked in the vault is I immediately turned around, saw there was a handle, but looked to the bottom right to see if you could kick it open. You cannot kick a vault open, but you can kick a walk-in freezer
There
open
is an escape device.
because it's a little spot that you do. Anyway, we're really here to talk to these guests about something much more important than walk-in freezers.
That's right. John Kalitz's idea.
Yes.
So for years and years and years, Donna has had a video series with us that is beloved. She's actually, let me rephrase that, an award-winning video series
That's right.
with us. You won an award from the Catholic Media Association a couple of years ago for Best Interview.
Last year.
Whatever. Okay,
Let me
there you
just
go.
say.
All right, hey, listen, so okay, you're a recent award winner. You and Dr. Lee Della Monica had a great conversation about the Eucharist.
Yeah.
And John basically wanted to make sure that he could give you another reason to maybe win an award. So you'd done a good job of taking a little time off from the video series so you could recover and focus on other projects. I really appreciated that, your professionalism there to make sure you knew to take time for yourself. So that was really good.
It's called self-care, Mike.
That's very important.
Yes.
But now you're back at it. So what was, first of all, what was the generation of Joyful Disciples?
Well, I'm delighted that you mentioned John Kalis because, and giving him a nod, because he's actually the one that approached me around using the Joyful Disciples platform, right? Talking Catholic's YouTube show, Joyful Disciples, which came out of the convocation back in 19. It was really, how do we draw people into the faith? Is like if we are literally joyful disciples of Jesus. So all of those seasons were about highlighting people around the diocese and the work that they were doing, joyfully serving, to draw others in, right, through their testimony and through the actions that they took. So having taken a season or so off to do other work that the diocese needed, John came to me with the Pope's Teach Us to Pray document. He said, look, he goes, I think the Joyful Disciples is a really great platform for this. He said to bring people into this document, to show them what's in this document, because this is the Pope's call leading up to the Jubilee 2025, Pilgrims of Hope, which will kick off on Christmas Eve. And so really it was as a result of him talking to me about that and then actually talking about having a co-host. And the same co-host, so we thought, Father Carlo Santa Teresa was an excellent person to co-host the entire season while Father and I dig into this actually Teach Us to Pray document put out by the Pope.
So how did you feel when you got the call to become part of one of Donna's and John's harebrained schemes?
Well, when John called me up about this, I was very excited, especially considering this is a wonderful time for the church. These Jubilee years, times of forgiveness, times of mercy. And anytime we delve into those times, those years, it's always important for us to prepare ourselves for those things. So when I heard about this idea, I was very humbled. I was very excited. I'll admit a little bit nervous because I didn't know what to expect, but certainly something I wanted to be a part of as we enter into this holy year.
Oh, that's good. And everyone's a little nervous every time we approach them for stuff like this, because everyone says, as a general rule, including Jen, when I've approached her for a number of different jobs over the years, everyone's like, I don't think that's really me. I'm not sure I can do it. But John and I don't ask people to do things if we don't think that they can actually do it. So as a general rule, if we ask you to do something, we're right. Just do what we told you to do.
Just let us boss you is essentially what that means.
Like, we'll take care of you. Everything will be fine. So I guess my first question for the two of you was, what was sort of so you come up with this idea with John, you talk this thing through. Did he actually have the scripts ready for you and just dumped it on you, or did you guys work through the scripts together to kind of put them together?
I'll talk about John some more. So what I had said to John is, because he really had a vision for how he would make these videos, record multiples of them on the same day. He has a real vision for that. And he said, but I would like them to be scripted out of the document and out of Pope Francis's catechesis on prayer, the things that he teaches. I said, okay, so you want them scripted and you want 10 episodes of Joyful Disciples, and I can't do that. I don't have time to write this many scripts in order for us to meet with Father and be able to record all of this on the same day. So John really took the bull by the horns and wrote out these scripts and then shared them with me. And we did very little editing back and forth, and then made sure that, they aligned to the document and catechesis, and therefore John did that.
And then I understand that you were the savior, Father, regarding finding a place to actually shoot these.
Absolutely. So we're trying to figure out a place to record this place that would be, comfortable and nice to look at when these videos are shown. So we used our newly renovated hall at St. Joseph's, and it provided us a nice little space, nice little place to relax between takes, but also nice little scenery. It gives a nice little homely feel to it, so that when, people are looking at this, it's more relaxed atmosphere, and helps us to, focus, not just for the people watching, but also for the people who are recording this.
Yeah. Well, I've watched the first 3 episodes, I think, at this point, and I have to say the work you've done, you both present beautifully. I mean, we knew. Actually, I kind of knew both of you were going to be present because I've seen you celebrate Mass, and you've done these videos for years now, and you both do a great job. But you guys are reading off teleprompters because the stuff you're talking about is pretty specific, and it's the kind of thing that doesn't really lend itself to off the cuff. And we didn't want you reading from notes, so we put up on teleprompters. Yeah. Teleprompters are not easy to read from. They can be very difficult. But now I've seen some of the bloopers. But what's actually made it into the footage is really, really good. You guys are very natural there. How long did it take you to kind of get used to that sort of teleprompter feel?
It did take a little bit of time, just because you're getting used to speed. You're getting used to reading, at least for me, big words off of a screen that I learned very quickly that I don't really do well with, and it's a little intimidating at first, but over time it just comes naturally.
Yeah. How about you, Donna?
I would say
that was the first for you, right?
I do everything off the cuff, right? Everything comes, sort of flows freely out of me, especially if I've prayed first. But this was entirely too complex of a subject matter that I thought, I can't wing this, right? And John knew that. He's like, we need to do it off a teleprompter. I have never worked off a teleprompter before, other than when we did the commercial for the Eucharistic Congress.
Right.
And even that was work, right? Yeah. Trying to get the pace, right? So even, as the words were being controlled, like the speed of it, so the joke was that we were recording off the teleprompter at bishop speed.
He does that. I mean, there's a reason why he takes because he's very used to doing off a teleprompter. And for anyone who feels that this is blowing things apart for you, know that if you watch a lot of the major Catholic outlets and you have all of your favorite Catholic celebrities, I'm going to warn you right now, almost every single time they're reading off a teleprompter. It's their words, it's their beliefs, it's their presentation, is definitely all of their product. But when you record on a regular basis and creating things on a regular basis, and you want to have the fewest number of screw-ups possible, you read off of a teleprompter, because it just makes everything look more polished and professional, and it's a good thing to do. So don't hold it against us that our guys.
No, of course not. I want to tell a funny story. One is that so when John was looking for edits on the first episode, the script, he had sent it to you. He sent it to you, I suppose. And then you had wrote back to him and said, you already missed something. So my introduction, I didn't say, hi, I'm Donna Ottaviano-Britt. And you had written back to me, you already messed it up. He's like, no, I've edited her videos for 8 seasons. She says, hi, Donna Ottaviano-Britt here.
That is correct.
It was funny. Like that he picked up, because he knows how I talk, after doing all these seasons of Joyful Disciples. So he did a great job.
And that's the thing about John, which makes him awesome, is that, he writes it in the way that... you talk. So he gives you the script and he says, if there's any way here that doesn't sound natural to you, change it, and we'll make the changes as necessary so that this comes off a little bit more naturally and not just a scripted thing.
Which is what good production is, and John is an excellent producer. And I have to say, this is 100%, and I know we were kind of hammering home John Calitz here, but it really is 100% his idea. Like, he came to me with the idea, and I've had really very little to do about it other than a little bit of editing. This is 100% his baby. And he did the setups, he did the camera work, he's done everything. So he deserves all the credit we're giving him right now. And you'll all be able to see this in a couple of weeks, because we said it's going to roll out on
20th, the day after Pentecost. That Monday is when it will come out. But really, I mean, even if you look at what John does and the way we talk about him in production, I shot a lot of my first couple seasons episodes myself, iPhone on a tripod, and you told me sound mattered a lot. If people can't hear you, like if your camera angle or your camera footage is not great, the video piece of it, but if they can't hear you, they're not listening. So I traveled a lot around the diocese to interview people and meet people, and It's not that hard to do. So I think even at a parish level, you can be producing these kinds of things at a parish level. It's not that hard.
No, and actually teleprompters have really come down in price. We got ours a couple of years ago, but if you really felt like this was something you wanted to do and invest in it, you can get a teleprompter. You can actually even do teleprompting on an iPad.
With an app, right?
With an app, yeah. It's a little bit different, but it still works. So it's something for our listeners, if it's ever been something you wanted to do, feel free to consider it. Just remember, your production values are important. Find a good location, good lighting, and good sound.
Right. And there's a whole team at the diocese that would help you.
That's right. And which is actually why I'm sort of bringing this up early on is to our listeners, we don't like being the ones that come up with ideas. We tend to come up with ideas when nobody else has come up with anything. And we're like, okay, well, there's a hole here. We need to fill it. So let's go come up with something. John realized that. We hadn't been using it since Carrie Janice finished her season. It had been a little while since we had a video up, and John realized we really need to make something up there. And he sort of put two and two together. This was coming down the pike, and that you were the natural person for that. But let's now talk about a little bit of the content. We talked about the structure a little bit. Let's talk about the content a little bit. So you've recorded your first 5 episodes at this point? Mm-hmm. Okay. What have you sort of taken away from what you've been sort of recording at this point? Like, you talked about what you want to focus on, but what about the details? Like what's actually sort of moved you as you've been sort of going through this process?
So the one thing I would say is, and I've been saying for a number of years now, right? So if you pay attention to Jesus in the Gospels, what is he often doing? Praying, right? He goes away, he goes to a place of quiet to be refreshed, to spend time with God the Father. And it's what he wants for us. He wants us to have a prayer life. Well, I think a lot of us can struggle in this space of, what is a prayer life for me? And we look at maybe friends or family members and spouses and colleagues that have a certain kind of prayer life, and you try and engage in that, and you're like, that doesn't really work for me. But there's such a richness in the Catholic faith of all of these different ways that we can pray. And I think the beauty of this Teach Us to Pray document that the Pope issued is we kind of explore a lot of it. I mean, there's even more, in the richness of the Catholic faith around how to pray, but really what we're doing by using the document as the platform for these shows is Father and I get a chance to talk about all the different ways to pray. You can find a way that works for you in the busyness of your life. And so from different types of prayer to different ways to pray, like adoration and mass. And there's so much goodness that, God the Father has given us to draw us closer to him. And I really think that's the beauty of what this season of the show will do, is to help people see.
One of the things that really struck me, especially in reading the scripts that John put together and reading the document, is seeing the practicality of prayer. It's, in divine wisdom that God made it so practical, but it is difficult, so we need to be constantly reminded about how to pray and seeing how there's different ways to do it. Like Donna mentioned, that there's adoration, there's structured prayer, but also different times throughout the day, pausing, when you're at home, when you're doing work, when you're out at the grocery store. There's always moments where you can give to God at those times to let him know what's going on, to help him to help you with whatever it is in your life, whatever's going on at this moment, things that you might be worried about in the future. There's always that openness in prayer that God always calls us to at every single moment of our lives.
I like that you said, like, even at something as small as going to the grocery store. Like, I am guilty of this. If I'm waiting in a line for the grocery store, I just pull out my phone and just scroll on it or whatever. So instead of doing that, I could just put that in my pocket and say a little prayer. I mean, are those kinds of practices what's discussed in the show?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think if you think about prayer as dialogue with God, you're having a conversation. So think about, the people in your life that you love the most, that you spend the most time with. When you talk to them, you're fully present, you're asking questions, you are listening.
Hopefully.
Right? You're listening to them while they talk. So to Jen, your point, like if I'm in line at a grocery store, I try not to have my digital dopamine hit right off my phone.
That's good.
And I can just briefly have a conversation. I can pray for the person in front of me, whatever struggles they might be having, the person behind me, the cashier. Like, there's just so many ways that we can incorporate prayer in a real and meaningful way.
And that's really what it is. It's about presence with the one that you love. And when we delve into prayer in those moments, we bring the people that we love to the one who loves us and who loved us into being as well.
I've mentioned on this podcast many times that prayer is difficult for me for a variety of reasons. I do pray, for anyone who fears that maybe I don't. But, recitation prayers have never been something I'm particularly good at because my memory is atrocious. I've made this joke. It's not really a joke. Anytime I go to confession and they say, okay, 5 Hail Marys, 5 Our Fathers, I'm going to be there a while because I won't read it. Because I feel that part of my penance is the fact that I have to try to remember it because I'm just not great at memory. The only one I cheat on is the act of contrition because there's no way I'm going to get through that. So, because there's so many different versions of it. So my wife used to, when we would go to confession together, she would write the act of contrition down on the back of her checkbook and just hand it to me as I was walking in. So this was before cell phones, folks. I'm that old. She would give me and I held on to that for a very long time, so that those checks, I don't actually know what happened to them, but prayer life is difficult for me. I can do sort of one-off prayers. I'm great with praying over top of my son. He doesn't know it, but when he's sleeping or when he was on the mound yesterday pitching, and man, I was praying hard. But I find that I have difficulty remembering to pray throughout the day. So I'm actually very interested in seeing how many total episodes are going to be? I know we recorded 5 now, and there's the idea that you might do.
We think there's probably
2 more after
3.
that.
Yeah, there's a few more that are expected. It's probably, it's for sure 3, but it could be as many as 5.
Oh,
so,
well,
yeah.
Stay tuned, everyone.
Yeah, stay tuned. We're not sure.
So it starts the day after Pentecost.
Yeah.
And it goes throughout the summer until September or so, right? Am I correct on that?
Yes. And
in addition to ways to pray, what are some of the other content that people can look forward to seeing?
So the first episode is really geared towards the document. And then there's a whole episode we do on the Mass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where we actually talk about the Mass, and which is really beautiful. And we thought, well, the Mass is should that be a 2-part episode? But we actually got it, where it's one. Because I think, listen, we're in Eucharistic revival even now, right? Mm-hmm. So all of this is connected. Is the challenges for Catholics to understand every single part of the Mass. And I think a lot of us who grew up in cradle Catholics were like, okay, we do this and we know we do it and we do it. But if you understand the significance of it. And so I think for us to have this opportunity on this one episode to talk about Mass as an opportunity to come and to pray and to be present. And we talk about the memorial, of what does a memorial mean? Like, does everybody understand that this is not just let's remember what happened 2,000 years ago. It's us being present at what happened 2,000 years ago. So I think there's a real richness in the Mass episode. There's another episode we did that has all the different ways to pray. Intercession, supplication, praise, thanksgiving. So we kind of walk through all the different forms of prayer.
Intercession is the one but see, that's where my prayer life is problematic. I was actually just talking to a friend of mine. She was talking about how I forget which saint she prayed to, but her son was getting his first job or in a job interview for his first job. So she decided, I know who she prayed to. She prayed to Mary. She prayed to Mary. Always the right person to go to when you're not sure who to pray to. Pray to Mary. Right, exactly. She asked for Mary's intercession, and I remember her telling me this, and she was telling me this, and I went, I got to be honest with you, I've never prayed to a saint or the Blessed Mother for an intercession before because I don't understand it. Can you explain to me? I realize I'm coming off as a very dumb Catholic here, but...
So whenever we pray to the saints, obviously the prayer is directed to God, but at the same time, it emphasizes that relationship that we have with the communion of saints, those who've already gone before us, marked with the sign of faith that we know are in the presence of God, and asking them to intercede for our needs there and asking them to bring it to God. I always remember when I was little, whenever I wanted something from mom or somebody else, I would always go to somebody who was really close to her. And for me, that was always grandmom. I would always say, hey, can you ask mom for this? And usually the response was positive, but not always. And that's the same thing when we pray to the saints. Our prayer is always answered in the way that God sees fit. But at the same time, it's our relationship with the saints. It's us asking them to intercede to God for us in hopes that whatever the answer to the prayer is, that through their assistance, through their intercession, it will help us come closer to the Lord so that we can keep our eye on the prize as well.
That's a good idea. I really got to start praying to asking for Saint Sebastian's intercession for my son every time he's up on the pitching round.
I think it is difficult to grasp that, whether you're Catholic or not. And, I think I already mentioned this, but at the end of the last year, around November or end of October to December, I did a Marian consecration at Father Rox's parish. And it was only through going through that prayer experience that I realized really what it was about. So I definitely recommend anybody who's curious, try to do that and try to do it with a community. I know that you can do it on your own to Joseph or Mary, but when you do it with a community, we would ask questions of Father Rox. We would ask questions of each other, and it was very eye-opening to hear other people's perspectives and then have Father Rox kind of like bring us all together about where it was really going. So.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that when you do things like consecration, preparation like that, is that you realize that the saints, that the Blessed Mother, that St. Joseph, they understand what we're going through. They went through exactly what we were going through. They know our struggle. They know our joys. Mm-hmm. And so it helps us to put that into context with our relationship with God in the same way that they did.
Yeah.
I think, Donna, I've heard you talk many times about the road to Emmaus. That's one of your favorites. Mm-hmm. But, backing up for a few days before that, exactly what you were saying, Father, is to me, Mary suffered at the cross because she was watching her son die. So when I'm going through something difficult or joyful, it doesn't always have to be difficult, I'm thinking exactly what you said. Mary's been through it. Mary's been through some tough stuff too. So that is why one of the reasons I wanted to do the Marian consecration, because I thought, well, she's somebody who gets it, who gets how tough life can be as well.
Yeah, because I think she had, she clearly had moments of great joy. I mean, I can only imagine her life with St. Joseph and Jesus was extraordinary before he went out on ministry. But then to watch him in his ministry and to watch everything that happened. But the joy in that is actually that I always figure she's the first person he went to on Easter Sunday morning at the crack of dawn and go, hey, Mom, I'm here and everything is going to be okay. So, but I love the consecration to Jesus through his mother. Mm-hmm. And the piece that I love about it so much, so I did my first Marian consecration in 2015, is that you literally consecrating yourself to her is you literally are giving her every good work you ever do. You hand it to her, which means at the moment of your death, you show up in front of Jesus empty-handed. And for me, I'm like, I gave everything to your mama. Right? So that because she makes everything better.
It blew my mind when I heard that for the first time.
You're giving her every good work, every virtue you have, everything you give to her. Mm-hmm. And I just love that.
I kind of, when I heard that for the first time, kind of tied that into the gospel reading of dying to self. Right? Because that's what it's about, is if you're giving everything to Mary, the good and the bad, that means you're not putting yourself at the good for me kind of a thing. Did I get that right, Father?
Sounds about right.
If I had a teleprompter, I could have said that a lot more.
This is why we use a teleprompter.
Yeah.
It's true.
Actually, when you were talking about the teleprompter, I was a little bummed that I never knew about it, because I feel like a lot of my mistakes on the podcast could have been fixed if you just put it on the mispronouncing Donna's name for the last 2.5 years.
That's a good point. No, the teleprompter is for video only, Jen. So I've been threatening you with a video show for many years now.
That's true.
So if you want to use
just video the podcast.
Oh, that's the other thing.
That's what John Kalis wants to do. But
you guys actually say yes to John. I say no to John all the time, but we're proving what happened.
That was an option.
Well, in this case, probably not. Well, actually, you guys also and John as well. You deserve a lot of credit for this for another aspect. In addition to that, there really hasn't been any. At least mainstream anyway, there really hasn't been a lot of focus on the upcoming Jubilee or the focus on prayer or anything like that. So you guys, as usual in the Camden Diocese, were on the leading edge of everything, which I like to remind my other dioceses of all the time, my fellow communications directors. Donna just made a shivving motion, and she's absolutely right.
No one was supposed to know that.
Nothing is secret.
See, this is
Nothing
why-
is secret in the vault.
I'll be honest with you. This is why I can never consecrate myself to anything, because I know I'm going to do this stuff, and I would feel worse if I'd done that. And so
Don't
I
worry.
have to remain in the gray areas.
Mary would do her very best to work that thing to the good.
Well, I don't want to overwork Mary. She's got a lot on her plate.
Well, she's the comic relief. He can't go to consecration.
But you guys deserve a lot of credit for being sort of the first into the pool in this regard. Have you seen anything in your research anywhere? Has there been any focus on any of this? Wow, really?
Not that I'm aware of, at least not here in the U.S.
Not in the U.S. You can see it coming out of the Vatican, you know, because even looking for like hashtags, you know, for the social media component of this, I think you find Jubilee 25 potentially, or Pilgrims of Hope is a hashtag. Nothing on this document. Nothing. And it's one of the greatest things I think that people struggle with is to develop a prayer life. So we should all be taking a look into this document and finding our way there, because we struggle with it.
What's the document called?
Teach us to pray.
And can anybody read it? Is it available online, right?
Yes.
It's online.
Yes,
and it's in multiple languages.
I think it's on the Vatican website as
It
well,
is.
right?
It is.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's currently in Italian, but it's basically you go to Jubilee 2025. You can find all of their resources there, and this is one of them. But no, we really haven't seen much in the U.S. yet.
So, you know, an idea could be, especially, you know, right after Pentecost, is to read the document and follow the show at the
Follow
same
the
time.
show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we're following the document pretty much all the way through from beginning to end with each of the episodes.
Right.
And I just think it's really important. And the fact that the Pope has called us to pray this year, to prepare for a year of pilgrimage, right? The Jubilee year is really it's a pilgrimage, and it's called Pilgrims of Hope, right? And really the Jubilee year is intended for a suffering world. There's war. We're still living with post-effects of COVID. There's so many ways that people are suffering. So why would we not pray, you know, for the months leading up to such a gift that we've been given with Jubilee 2025?
And that's the thing. The pilgrimage has already begun. It doesn't start when the Jubilee year begins. And as we go along in reading this document and following along with joyful disciples, it's a nice little journey going forward, taking it step by step, growing into prayer. Knowing the prayer and mastering it doesn't come overnight. It's little steps coming to understand where we are with our relationship with God, and then just developing that more and more and going even deeper into his love.
I love that.
I also I've seen a few of the episodes as well, pre-screen, and I feel so proud when I got I was like, woo, I got a sneak peek. Well, like trailers are the best things to watch at the movies, so I feel like I got a trailer. But you know, you're mentioning the document, but you're also referencing like the catechism. And, you know, up on the screen, in addition to both of your lovely faces and the background, you put up the readings and where you found it. So, like, kind of saying, if somebody wants to follow along with the joyful disciples and use the document, they could really kind of turn it into a study guide almost.
Absolutely.
Oh, they could. Or as a personal prayer practice, you know, gather with friends that are interested in doing this, talk about this, right? So engage your friends. And like maybe gather, you know, over the course of this year, like you said, Father, like the pilgrimage has already begun. We don't have to wait for Christmas Eve for this. And we do consider this life a pilgrimage to heaven anyway. So why would we not want to make the absolute most of it?
That's a good point.
And even individually, I think, it opens the door. It's an invitation to delve deeper into these treasures that we have, our teachings, and understanding why we believe what we believe. And it all starts with looking at it, praying about it, and coming to see God in every aspect of it.
Yeah. I probably should have brought this up from the very beginning. This is a very consumable video that we're creating. They're all roughly 10 minutes apiece.
10, 12 minutes.
Yeah, and so it's not like looking at some terrible PowerPoint presentation. It's going to be these two lovely people, eloquent speakers with a beautiful background, kind of walking you through this journey. So it's not a difficult one, and we will be clipping it up and putting up on social media, you know, little clips of it and things like that. But it's definitely something you want to see in full. And the book isn't a particularly large book either.
No, you can print it.
Yeah.
It's a document, and it's fairly large font, not tiny font. So it's not really complicated for those who might need to wear glasses. But I just think it's an easy read and it explains things to people. So if you're a reader and that's what you need, perfect. If you want to gather with people to talk about it, if you want to use the videos, I think as a potential platform to explore this with family and friends, I just think like there's multiple ways to take advantage of, like, as Father says, the treasures of the church. And I think that's key, because all of these are treasures, because God is a good Father and has given us multiple treasures.
That is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Don't you feel multiply treasured all the time, Jen?
Didn't I just say I did a Marian consecration for a reason?
There you go. There you go.
We're talking a lot about the year of Jubilee as well. Did we explain for listeners who might not understand what that is? Did we
No, I don't
really
think we
dive
did.
into that?
I don't think we did.
Should we talk about that?
Sure, you can wax eloquently about it.
No, I can't. I'm looking at our guests.
So
And by that, I mean I looked at Father, so I apologize.
No problem.
Well, actually, it's this particular Jubilee is every 25 years. The Catholic Church has a Jubilee.
An ordinary Jubilee is
Yeah.
every 25 years.
Yeah.
There's an extraordinary one that happened in 2016, but ordinarily every 25.
That was
Yeah.
the year of mercy, right?
Yes.
That one in 2016. Yeah.
That's right. But actually, this will be the first ordinary Jubilee year I'm on the job, so I'm very
too.
much I'm kind of looking forward to it.
I almost wanted to give you a high five, and then I was like, oh, wait, who am I talking to? You're not going to give me a high five?
No.
I don't know why, but I was like, no, I'm not high five that.
No, I thought Bishop Secretary was going to hug me earlier today.
Yeah.
Because I did her a solid, and I was very happy when she pulled back at the last second. I was like, that's not necessary.
Knowing her audience, Doris.
Exactly.
Yes,
It's like,
exactly.
no,
I can't hug
Mike does not handle affection or compliments well.
So this will
No,
be
I think so.
Mike and my first professional ordinary year of Jubilee. I can't even get it out.
Nice.
Prompter.
There we go.
Father, can you explain more about the year of Jubilee?
So the year of Jubilee, you can find it in certain parts of the Old Testament. It was always a time of rejoicing. And because it was a time of rejoicing, what are they rejoicing about? They're rejoicing because a lot of transgressions, a lot of debts were absolved, whether that be by the political or religious leaders at the time. And so that's an opportunity for us every Jubilee year to experience, to receive those indulgences as well that come with the graces of the Jubilee as a time of forgiveness, of remission, and a time of renewal in our Christian life.
I'm trying to remember during the ordinary Jubilee years. Is there a Holy Doors?
Holy Doors.
There are Holy
Yeah,
Doors,
right.
yes.
So you get the benefit of the Holy Doors, which was my favorite part with the Jubilee Year of Mercy, because I think we had 5 Holy Doors in the diocese, but then if you go to Rome, you get some extra indulgences.
Oh, there's extra. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go to the Jubilee 2025 website, it will show you all the Holy Doors that are going to be available to people in Rome. It's not just it's just not only St. Peter's, but there's like 7 or 8 churches that are listed there. There's a pilgrim's path that you can take. So it should be a beautiful year. And I think Rome's expecting 32 million people.
Yeah,
Easy.
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And this is. Other folks may not put 2 and 2 together, done the math, but the last time we had an ordinary Jubilee year, it was the turn of the millennium. And so there was a great deal of focus on it because that was also Y2K, and everyone was worried that we were going to be, thrust into darkness because none of the computers would work and the electric would be turned off. So there was even greater emphasis on that. Fortunately, in a quarter year, it's not that big a deal. But
But it's still important.
But it's still very important. Well, that's what I'm saying is.
It's not that big a deal.
Well, I was speaking from a PR perspective during the
Not as a
2000
Catholic.
Jubilee. During the 2000, exactly.
I take my high five back.
I much like the Jesuit of Catholics, I'm the PR of Catholics. It's just as special as in 2000. It's just that when 2000 there was a lot more going on that sort of fed into it. But this year, because of all the upheaval in the world, or next year rather, because of all the upheaval in the world, I think we're going to see it as well. So I am looking forward. Usually the Holy Doors in the diocese are typically the cathedral and then 1 or 2 other locations. But we have not heard yet where the other locations will be. I'm hoping for someplace in Atlantic City and someplace in Bridgeton. I would like to see, the Church of the Immaculate Conception is a beautiful.
Summer's Point is a nice place.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah. You're sitting right at the table, Mike, with Father Carlo
I didn't want to
Santana.
assume. That's a lot of people rolling through the parish. They might be busy. I don't know.
I also vote for Summers Point. Just saying.
It's a lovely church.
It is. It's really nice.
I'm very much parking's at a premium, but lovely church. So I think we usually look for places with big parking lots.
Father Mohan is now calling Father Carlo.
Let those guys battle it out. That'll be fine. But yeah, so there. I mean, this is sort of a precursor to all of that really kind of cool stuff that's coming down the pike that you really should avail yourself of. I had, when it was the Year of Mercy Jubilee, I went to all the door openings, and they were great. And actually, the door closings were great too. I remember distinctly, as a matter of fact, when the Holy Doors were opened at Our Lady of Lourdes Church in Glassboro. And the crowd outside was it was stunning. It was genuinely stunning, seeing everybody standing outside waiting for the doors to open and having them open and walking through. And then going back throughout the next year and knowing that every time you walk through those doors, if you were in the proper state of grace, you get the benefit of going through the Holy Door, the indulgence. So it was really cool. It was a nice reminder.
I think you need confession in and around the time you're going through the Holy Door too, Mike.
That's why I said in the proper state.
Okay.
Are you suggesting something, Donna?
Find that
I
checkbook.
don't know.
Not erroneously?
I just want to give a nod to Jennifer Walsh, who wrote the act of contrition on the back of a checkbook.
I was like, find it.
For Mike. I love that.
Don't
That was
worry.
such a good
Listen,
spouse.
Love it.
Jennifer Walsh is definitely getting into heaven. There is absolutely no one doubts that in any way, shape, or
I
form.
for sure don't doubt it.
No, she
I
is.
do not.
Yes.
Working with you, I do not doubt it.
Yes, she has earned her time off from purgatory at the very least. So
Time off.
Yeah.
I'm what gets people into heaven. Well, okay, just to point out, all right, when I was going through pre-Cana, our pastor at the time, was he our pastor? Our priest friend at the time. I don't know if he was a pastor then. We were going to him for pre-Cana, and he said to me, he was like, how do you what's the point of marriage? And being, at that time, a very dumb Catholic, far dumber than I am now, I just kind of looked at him with an empty stare, and I went, I don't know, get your spouse into heaven? And he goes, yeah, that's exactly it. That's the perfect answer. Get your spouse into heaven. So I like to think of it, I've been so difficult to help her get into heaven. So this was all just me doing my best to get her into heaven.
You're a good husband then, Mike.
Thank you very much.
She's like, I wish you didn't love me so much.
I think it was more like, I wish you didn't irritate me so much, but it all works.
But this is her path, and she's on it.
Yes.
So.
be the marriage
I am her
episode.
purgatory.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Marriage episode of Talking Catholic.
No, if we ever do a marriage episode, we're doing it with Donna and Joe Britt, because
I would listen into that.
that
geez.
is
Me too.
Joe Britt is an angel.
He is.
And I would love to see him
He
on
is
it.
that.
But the thing is, Donna doesn't let him speak.
Ay,
It's the
ay,
worst
ay.
thing. Father Carlo, you might not be aware of this, but when during the COVID times, Donna, that's where we came up with a lot of these shows, and Donna was hosting one or two probably. And Joe would always be so kind as to bring her, but she would never let Donna speak. And John Kalis came up with the hashtag "Let Joe Speak."
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And I forget which series it was, but in the last episode, he was allowed to say hi.
Yeah. We put him on the last thing. Hi, Joe Britt here.
Prayers answered.
Yes.
That's right. But people wanted to hear Joe speak.
I think in my first year here, we got Joe in the paper. It was you and Joe saving horseshoe crabs on the
Oh,
beach.
we were in Fortescue. We went
right.
during horseshoe crab mating season, and we were flipping them
Flipping them
over.
back
They've been
over.
around for millions of years. They don't really need us to do that, but it just felt like we were saving them.
You
The
were.
ones that got stuck when the tide went out, who were on their back, so we go and flip them over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so generous of you. I like how you look after God's creations.
Yeah, a little bit of that. We like them.
That's
you
what it
know.
was for.
Now we're building a hummingbird garden around our property to bring the hummingbirds. So it's kind of a fun thing to do this year.
I meant, yes, that sounds
Yes,
cool.
I
I wasn't
not,
laughing.
It's not your idea. of fun.
No.
I love it.
But I'm not sure it's as fun as the bloopers that we're going to see at the end of these episodes. which
I
are-
have not seen these
Oh,
bloopers
no,
yet.
you
I am
haven't.
looking forward to seeing them.
They are great
they're good.
bloopers. I'm very happy that John included them. As you watch the end credits, you'll see some of the goofs that come up. Now, I'm going to warn you. The first two episodes, you only see Father Carlo's bloopers because apparently Donna did have bloopers, but she didn't handle it in a funny way. So there was no. It didn't look. It actually looked.
Wow, I
kind,
hadn't heard that.
they kind of look kind of mean if you put them up. So we're like, But then your later ones, when you kind of loosened up in the later episodes, you were a little more funny. And those bloopers, I think episode 3, your first blooper appears.
I saw those in episode 3. It actually made me laugh, which I'm prone to laugh at myself anyway. But I will say that while we were filming, I think filming the first episode was probably the hardest. So first time on a teleprompter, feeling slightly stiff because I'm reading off a teleprompter. And then our production guy decided he would, as we went on, create a competition between Father and myself as to who could record their segments without a mistake and a re-record. Well, forget that. I was so annoyed.
Game on at that time.
Game on. It was game on to see who could do it. And then I have to tell you, I had to re-record 2 segments of mine because Father Carlo left his Wawa bag in the background.
Oh, my.
Yes.
Gotta have a Wawa, Donna.
Product placement.
Actually, I was going to say, that's a good thing to have in there. I hope John didn't take it out.
We did. We re-recorded without the Wawa.
That's where I just start digitally zooming in on the Wawa while you're talking and then come back out again. Yep. Oh yeah, we gotta tell John that we gotta have a little more fun with these because people love it when there's.
Oh yeah.
Hey, listen, those little cameos, little spoilers, little things that are left in there's like major movies where like a Starbucks, it's something that takes place in medieval times. There's a Starbucks cup there.
Yes.
I love finding stuff like that.
Yes.
So that Wawa, we could have had a whole hashtag find the Wawa bag.
Oh, we could have done that. Oh well, there's more episodes.
There's a couple more episodes we can
we'll
definitely
think about
do.
that.
To me, this is already the beginnings of a plan for season 9. So,
season 9.
Have you actually thought about that at all? Like what your next season is going to be? Hopefully not after an 18-month.
I already have. I haven't talked to Father about it yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to keep your co-host?
I'm going to keep my co-host.
Okay, even better.
My co-host.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just finding out about
I was
this.
going to say, just breaking news.
So we're just talking about it on Talking Catholic now. Christus Fidelis Lece is what I would like to do a season on.
Could you do that in English?
Yes. It's really the call of the lady. It's the call of the lady.
Well, you are certainly a shining example of that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would love to dig into that document and help people understand it. Because I think there's such significant teachings that are in that really helps the laity understand we are each called into the work in order to help the church thrive. And you can't wait for other people to do it. And your baptism actually calls you to it. Your confirmation calls you to it. And you have actually been equipped to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is actually, so this season of Joyful Disciples would be a great lead-in to the next season. So kind of got to strengthen your prayer life, get your act together.
Yes, get your act together. That's a holy term for
and
it.
then,
together.
I think that was in John. And then you and then you go right into the next season about how to serve.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really good. So I've been doing this backwards. I started with service, and now I'm going to get into prayer in the end?
Yeah.
All right.
I
And
also
by the end, I'm
did
going to die soon, apparently. But okay.
Every pilgrim takes their own unique journey. So
Yes.
if you started in service, now it can be prayer. Everybody takes their own unique journey. But collectively, we're all responsible for the church.
Oh, we only have a few minutes left, and just to bring up another subject unrelated to this, since the both of you are Knights of the Holy Sepulchre, if I'm not mistaken,
No,
right?
Donna is.
Oh, Father Carlo.
I am not.
Yet.
Nope.
Okay, I'll talk to a guy. For some reason, I thought I had seen you in the garb.
I'm in my priest outfit usually.
There you go, Donna.
Different
since
garb.
you are a Knight of the Holy Sepulchre,
I'm not a knight.
Since you are a Dame of the Holy Sepulchre,
I am that.
so
Wow.
on the nose.
Wow.
Since
Go back to the Wawa
since you are,
conversation.
in addition to being a Dame of the Holy Sepulchre, a number of other things. What are we going to do with a podcast on the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre, Knights and Dames of the Holy Sepulchre?
Oh, I think the order would be delighted to have that actually happen, right? And Bishop is such a huge fan of the Knights of Columbus, but also the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre. The Holy Sepulchre is actually very committed to what's happening to the churches and to Christians because there's less than 2% of them now in the Holy Land. Yeah. And I mean, you look at the way they're living now. I mean, so many of them that work over there work in the tourism industry. Yeah. Tourism is down. Pilgrimages are down because of what's been going on over there since October. So it's really the dedication of this order. I think if more people knew kind of the work that they did and that people that are invited to become members and understand how important it is, because the Holy Land just looks like it's a bit at risk now. Yeah. And people are worried about what will happen over there. And so I think our dedication, even the Good Friday collection, I don't think that everyone understands, even though it's said like it's a passing sentence on Good Friday, the collection is for the Holy Land. Like if people really understood how the Christians are suffering over there, and all those churches that need to be maintained in those places.
Yeah.
Sort of, giving our treasures, on Good Friday to try and do that.
I'm so happy you said that so eloquently, Donna.
Did I? I hope so.
No, because it's the perfect precursor to the next episode we're going to have you on. So if you could reach out to some of the knights and dames of the Holy Sepulchre and ask them if they would be willing to come on the podcast sometime soon,
Joe.
I would be awfully appreciative. And yes, Joe is certainly allowed.
Oh, yeah.
And encouraged. For that
I'm like, Joe, how would you like to be on a podcast? He might be like,
But yeah.
okay, we'll see. They wouldn't let you speak, Joe.
He just gets to come, but he can't speak.
Right. You're on. Joe's here, but not talking.
The mic is muted the entire time.
Because his wife can't keep quiet.
But no, we would really like to do that. And I actually think the timing is perfect for something like that.
Sure.
So if you can at your leisure.
Okay.
Speaking of that, will the Knights and Dames of the Holy Sepulchre be present at the ordinations?
They most certainly will be. We will be there.
My favorite time.
We will be there.
You can't miss them, folks. If you're watching any of the broadcasts, the knights are in their berets and white capes, and the ladies are in their black veils and black dresses and black capes. Yeah, there you go. So it's a look. It's stunning. It can't be missed. And I'm saying this in a nice way because I'm not saying the other thing I always say.
No, you're not saying that.
I'm not going to say that
add
at all.
an extra bit of beauty and pageantry to these sacred events in our diocese.
Yeah.
And really highlight it.
And truly, and as someone who appreciates pomp and circumstance, I really do appreciate their
I like
participation.
pomp and circumstance too. Although I have been referred to as Catholic bling. Which is what you just said. I'm saying it in much more crass way.
I can think of worse things than Catholic bling.
Catholic bling. As a liturgy.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate that. Make sure you check out Joyful Disciples in about a week and follow it throughout the summertime. See you, everybody.